Now, deductive reasoning, this goes from the general to specific. This comes from logic as well. It's much more difficult to make this type of argument. More arguments are inductive, but this is a stronger argument because it's more difficult to disprove and to take apart. So normally it has a conclusion, and that's drawn from two or more assertions, what are called premises and logic. So here, no cowards can be great leaders. That's one premise. Falstaff was a coward. That's the second premise. And the conclusion then is Falstaff was not a great leader, because from those two premises, I can come up with this conclusion. Now, the premises must be valid for the argument to be valid, and the conclusion must logically follow from those premises. So, if I can show that there has been a coward who was a great leader, or I can show that Falstaff was not a coward, then this argument is no longer valid. And that's why it's more difficult to disprove a deductive reasoning argument. All right, now be aware of this rebuttals. Because your argument is written, you're not having it face to face with someone, you will have to consider what people may want to counter your argument with, because people will think of them, and you have to decide, will most people or a majority of the people reading my argument think of this? And if so, then you need to rebut it. So you would have to consider the major counter arguments, and you have to rebut those, or weak, or it's going to end up weakening your own argument. So the example I always use, which I'm probably going to have to stop using because it's going to be legal everywhere, is one of the main counter arguments to legalizing marijuana is that it's a gateway drug to stronger drugs. All right. That is a major counter argument that if you are going to write a paper for legalizing marijuana, you would have to address. And so what you may do is say, you know, most people begin drinking alcohol before they use marijuana. So alcohol is a gateway drug, not the marijuana. Or you show that it's not a gateway drug. So people may say that 90% of heroin users began with marijuana, but you counter and say yes, but only 3% of marijuana users become heroin users, right? So you have to figure out some way to rebut that. Now you have to decide if you need a rebuttal. If a majority of people won't think of the counter argument, then don't bring it up because now they are going to think about it. But that's a decision you have to make on your own. Now, when you are countering, there's three different ways, and I'm going to go from the weakest to the strongest way to rebut. The weakest way is to state that the opposition has a point, but so do you. You may have to do this. I mean, if you're going to be fair and objective, and your opposition has a strong counter argument that's valid, then you have to acknowledge that, and you'll say, yes, they have a good counter argument, but I have a strong argument as well. So that's the weakest. Now, the second to the weakest or the second strongest is state the opposition has a point, but yours is better, and show why you have a better argument than your opposition's argument. Now, the best way to counter or to rebut a counter argument is show that the opposition's point is not true. So with the uh, marijuana being a gateway drug, it's fairly simple to show that that is not a valid counter argument. There's no evidence to support that. And that's what you want to do. So if you can, show that the opposition does not have a valid point. If you can't, show that it has a valid point, but you have a stronger point. And if you can't do that, just make the best argument that yours is just as good as theirs. All right, now back to the car. We should buy the Volvo because it's a safe car. The claim is we should buy the used Volvo. The reason is because it's safe. The warrant is we should buy the car that is the safest. So all the grounds are the facts, data, examples, evidence used to support the stated reasons, and we've already looked over what grounds we might. All right, the red car, we should buy this Ford Falcon because it is red. Yes, it is red. The warrant, if we can find a red car, is we should buy it. But you're going to have a hard time deciding, unless it's, Paris Hilton and she needs a red car to go with her purse. There's not really a good scenario for why you think somebody would need a red car, right? And a good argument against it is red cars get pulled over by the highway patrol a lot more often than black cars. Okay, that's the end of part two. Hopefully, this made sense to you. If you had any questions, just send me an email.